G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Australia podcast, powered by Australian Property Scout Buyers Agency. I'm your host, Sammy Gordon, and today, guys, we are back for another solid episode. Now, you guys would probably remember back in February, we started the Investors Mindset, and we didn't really know that it was going to turn into a bit of a series, but a lot of people wrote in going, we love Jimmy's idea of this Investors Mindset thing. It's a thing he loves. It's his baby. And they wanted to hear a little bit more around this sort of stuff. So I've had a few ideas cooking up and a few different things coming to me. So we have got the big silver dog up from Mordor in the studio, mate, Mr. Jimmy Ibrahim, mate. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Sammy. And hello once again, listeners. As Sammy said, the mindset piece, I do very much enjoy this part, Sammy, because what we can all learn everything, we can all study, we can do the courses, but it's the 6 inches between those ears that is going to either help or hinder your ability to do anything.
Yes.
Let alone when it comes to investing. And that's why I think we need to keep going on about this. And if people out there thinking, oh, shit, here they go again, it's just going to be drumming it in time and time again.
But it's helping people level up, Jimmy, because like, you can't level up without going through these things before or listening to other people going through them. And gives you a level of appreciation for what is undoubtedly going to come up at some point in your journey.
Yes.
Because we all come up with hiccups and different things that pop up. It is never going to be a dead straight, smooth sailing journey. And I think the funny thing here, what I'm going to give is a big shout out to Mr. Lukey Chewson, the big man himself, the big property economist and strategist over at Australian Property Scout, because this idea really spawned from, there was this week late last year, I think it was in November 23, something like that. And in the very same week, I had this one client that he emailed me and he was carrying on about this. There was a $550 maintenance fix. Some things had fallen on his roof from this tree or something. 8 months post purchase, and this deal had gone up $100,000. Yeah, like in an 8 month window, it gets in this massive spike. And here's this guy emailing me, whinging and bitching and carrying on. And I don't know if you remember, because I sent it to you, and I go, mate, half the team's telling me I cannot do this thing, but I recorded a rant, the very first Sammy's rant podcast. I recorded this thing for about 8 minutes, losing my shit the night that this guy sent the email because I need to blow it off. I go, what do you reckon, mate? Is this all good to post? You were not happy. And mate, you cannot post that thing. You cannot post that thing.
I thought if you're looking for something to go viral, Sammy, this might be it. But
in the wrong way.
Not for the right reasons. But everything you were saying.
So it's in the archives. It's in the archives.
Everything you were saying was correct in the sense.
Yes.
And clearly it riled you up, and that's fair enough because this particular person wasn't looking at the bigger picture. And I think you hit it on the head before. We've all been through those situations. So, and that's where this topic really is important.
Where this topic actually was born from, right, was because later in that same week, because Lukey knew how riled up I was, he had a client reach out to him. It's a client that he and I both work with. And the client reached out to him, different client, and said, mate, can you just give me a hand with the insurance? I don't really know how all this works and everything. He goes, and Lucky's like, yeah, no worries, man. What's up? What do you need a hand with? And he goes, oh, I had this tree in the front. It's fallen over and kind of taken out half of the front. It hadn't quite hit the front roof, but it caused a few leaks and whatnot. Yeah. It blew the front water main. It's actually flooded the property and it's unlivable. The tenants have to move out and have to move into something. So it was like, he's like, hang on, what? And he's like, yeah. You know, it's not the end of the world. Like, you know, I've already, working this stuff, but I thought I'd give you a quick chat. Like, what do I do with the insurance? How do I work all that? And Lukey walked him through the scenario and and the exact next steps of what he had to do to kind of sort this thing out, because the dude never made an insurance claim before. And he's called me after and he goes, mate, you'll never, because he knew how right off I was about this other one. He knew I'd laugh about this. And he ran me through it and I go, mate, you talk about a tale of two completely different scenarios, right? And
same scenario, different reaction.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. And different approach. And I was looking at it and we were talking about it and I go, man, talk about like a half glass full approach and a half glass empty, you know what I mean? Half empty. When it's at the same level, the same things happen. One guy's carrying on and whinging and bitching even though he's up $100,000 for the sake of a $500 maintenance fix that we all have to do. The other guy's had half his bloody house taken out. The thing's flooded. The tenants have moved out. You know, there's not that much more that probably could have gone wrong in a big storm. And he's looking at the positives going, oh, well, I guess at least I'll get a bit of a renovated property. They'll do a bit of this, do a bit of that. It's not the best thing in the world. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. But, you know, looking at it with these, wow. You know, this positive light of all right, something bad's happened, but these are the positives out of it. Can you just help me, you know, work my way through it? Instead of just looking at the negatives and like, calling up, carrying. If anything, he's the guy to call up, going, "Oh, mate, I'm stressed like for what's happened." But he's looking at it from the positives. And I remember, like, it's where this kind of the idea that I wrote down before we came up with the Investors Mindset series was really, you know, are you a glass half full investor or are you a glass half empty? Are you looking at this thing in a positive way? You're looking for every negative that you can. Because one of those investors, Jimmy, is going to succeed, and the other one is going to fail miserably.
100%. You're 100%. Well, just on that, Sammy,
thank you.
If I can share from in the last couple of months, I've had a few little dramas too with my little portfolio. I've had one of the properties, the kitchen, the bent the top, the oven and the stove top and everything's gone to the fritz, so I have to replace that. I think they got a quote for like $1,500 to fix that. Okay. A tenant defaulted on the rent, just pissed off. So there's about $4,000 worth of rent from that. Another property had some flooding issues, but the way the house is positioned, I don't really need to do the work. But there was about a $5,000 bill if I wanted to fix that. And then I think I had a couple more issues. Right,
this is in the last 3, 4, 5 months or something.
No, well, because I've got 13 different rental properties, right?
Pump them up, mate. Pump them up.
Well, no, my point is they've all happened in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get you.
So that feeling of being, you know, oh shit, is normal.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to get a call saying,
"Here's a $5,000 bill. Here's a $1,500."
No one is gonna. So the thing that when we were discussing this, and I was thinking back, what jumped out at me is you will have these problems. Like own up to it and make peace with it. That you will encounter all the shitty things that
100%.
will go wrong.
These things are going to happen.
Everything will.
It's a property. It's bricks and mortar. It is going to happen. At some point, things are going to need to be fixed. Things are going to break. Tenants are going to be pieces of shit. It is what we deal with. Like something is going to happen.
100%.
You have to look at it from the broader picture of, well, what am I getting out of this thing? Okay,
exactly.
This is a small window in the big picture, the big journey of what it is. And I don't know if you remember, but I've spoken about this a couple of times, that it always seems to be, in my own portfolio, I'll go through periods where everything is sweet and like nothing breaks on the portfolio. And these days, obviously, I have quite a large portfolio, so there's more of a chance of, you know, that sort of set of things happening to me maybe once a quarter or something like that. But even still, sometimes these days, I'll go a whole year without anything major, just 100%. Some little things here and there. And all of a sudden, a house will come around that half of it needs to be re-stumped. I need to replace, 2 sets of ovens and range hoods and 4 aircon units break. And it all seems to happen in like a 2-week or a 4-week window. And all these things just all drop at once. And you're like, far out. There's like a $20,000 worth of bill. Obviously, it's a sizable portfolio in the scheme of things. But it's just like, it's part of the past. It's part of the journey. And I remember when this first happened and when I first bought property, it's almost always in the first year as well. The first year you buy a property, sometimes the owners will try and hide a few things, or sometimes they've held this thing for 10, 15 years themselves and barely made anything on it. The market does a little bit of an uptick and they might sell it at that point just to cash out. The first few years they might have done maintenance, and then the last like 5 to 10, they've just been like, well, this thing's doing nothing for me. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to do anything. So you might, inherit a few maintenance sort of items that might have been missed or whatever within that. And a lot of the time in your first 6 to 12 months, you'll cop it. So what we're trying to do, especially with this, with this Investors Mindset series, and especially with this topic in particular, it's just being ready for that stuff. Like budget that stuff's going to come up. Whenever we send out a deal at Australian Property Scout, we always send out a maintenance buffer, and it's generally based on what we've seen the condition of the property so far. It can range between typically between like a $3,000 to $5,000 maintenance buffer, and you might not need to use it all straight away. Yeah. But like if it's $5,000, use $2,000 straight away. Keep that $3,000 in the kitty, because we're probably estimating that something's gonna blow out in the next probably 6 to 12 months. So it's one of those things, man. Just being prepared for it, being ready for it, but being open minded and realize like ahead of time that it's going to happen, because it is 100% going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say further to that. You're right. Expect it to happen so that you're not overwhelmed and you don't get frazzled when it actually does happen.
Yes.
And that's why, when we're looking at the glass half full approach, it is getting a very short-term view of what you're actually doing. Yeah. So you get really rattled by that $3,000 or $1,500 or whatever. But if you have a bigger picture of the long-term focus and you understand, like, I have to catch myself out sometimes as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this property's increased $100,000. So yeah, you're right. $1,500, like, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. 6 months can go past and you don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. The more properties you own, the more challenges you're going to probably face.
I remember, like, even throwing this over to like a timing thing, right? And being like, looking at the market as it is, and what is there, what opportunities are there in the moment. Or I'm gonna take the doom and gloom, because there's always double-sided commentators out there, right? There's people like us that are very bullish on the market, and we call what we think, and we invest in that way as well. But there's other people that will call, the negative side of the market as well. And one of the big things that I saw, especially in like early 2022, going into 2022, when the interest rates started going on their big climb, and a lot of people got spooked, like, oh no, I'll wait till it's all done, and I'll wait till this, and I'll wait till that. But there were markets that had just started their growth cycle. You look at Perth. Perth started in 21, right? And then in 22, 23, and then into now, it's had ridiculous growth. If you sat out and waited for the interest rates either to come back down, which they haven't even started yet, or waited for the market to kind of start to see what the lay of the land was like when the interest rates finished their run, you've missed 18 to 24 months worth of a market that could have grown and gone through a massive cycle. It's not just Perth, but it's other locations as well. And I had clients that said to me, it's a bit uncertain for me now. They'd made great money in say, Brizzy when we'd entered in early into that market, made great money into that, had the opportunity to pull it out, roll into that. Well, there's some that had already rolled into Perth and had the opportunity to move in some other locations. And then they decided, no, I'm going to sit and wait. And if it's calculated and for a specific reason, that's fine. But if it's being spooked and like, here we go, again, looking at the glass, if you've got the ability to do it, take the advantage of more fear and negative sentiment in the market, as opposed to looking at the negative side and going, no, not for me, tapping out. Or even, I knew some people that sold as well that didn't need to sell. So, man, it's an interesting thing kind of looking at it and understanding that investor psyche and that investor mindset, right? But I think the biggest thing that we can do to help people is arm them with the ideas and the facts of the scenarios that there are out there to help them level up as investors, even from an educational point of view, so then they can take it and apply it to their own portfolio. Correct. And keep winning.
And it's also, even psychologically, in your own mind, when you get presented with something, even ask yourself, do I have a half glass full or a half glass empty approach? Even if you're just catching yourself out, you'll start asking different questions, and you'll stop yourself spiraling into, I knew I shouldn't have done it. Stupid idea.
Think about me in COVID. It just popped into my head about in COVID. The only lending I could lend on my own portfolio on the cash flow I had coming from my own portfolio. I had to low doc lend, and the interest rates were 2% higher than my clients were getting.
Yeah,
I could have looked at that and gone, man, I am not, getting interest rates in the 5s when clients are getting them in the 2s, but I did, and all those properties doubled or more. You know what I mean? In that time frame. But if I looked at it from the negative approach of, no, it's not the right time. The interest rates are too high. Blah blah blah. Like compared to the retail market, I would have missed a massive opportunity. So it's interesting, man. But I know, look, mate, we've been going hard, waffling here for around about 14 minutes.
I think it's great.
Do you have some touch points you want to run through as well?
I thought it was good just to touch on different aspects of the investing and looking at what is a glass half full and what is a glass half empty. Right.
Let's go.
So for the first thing was all around risk. Right?
Yep.
So professional investors are looking to mitigate risk as much as possible. A glass half empty investor is listening to the wrong advice. It is thinking the market is going to fall, property prices are going to fail, listening to Channel 7 or your parents and so forth. So that was the first thing around risk. So what would you say? Is glass half full, glass half empty from your side?
In regards to
in risk, looking at risky investing, I think you just said it before, you shouldn't be investing in 2022, but if you listen to Warren Buffett, one of his most famous sayings is be fearful when people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful. And this is 100%. Arguably the best investor of all time.
Mate, I would challenge around that side of things. That's me personally. I would.
Can you, producer? He's just referenced himself to Warren Buffett.
I didn't reference myself to Warren Buffett. You said he's one of the best investors ever, and I question that. I honestly do, mate, because he talks about, that's a conversation for another day. That's a conversation for another day.
All right, go on.
All right. He's done all right. He's done all right.
He's done all right. So in terms of risk, let's just look at risk of investing, right? Yeah. Market selection and property selection. Is it
Yeah, and look, in regards to that as well, one of the biggest things I always look for the opportunity. And the opportunity is what are people... But it's always calculated, right? It's calculated risk. So what are people shying away from? So especially in that time of COVID, people didn't want to go into the market interest rates were stupidly, or they were actually getting quite low, but I had to pay stupidly high to get into it. But I weighed up my risk versus return. Could see markets at the absolute bottom, buying properties at ridiculous discounts. I was like, makes sense. Pulled the trigger. You even look at right now and you have a good look and a good think about what is playing out there in the market right now. And we chatted about this in that first episode back of the year with Big Lukey, right? Talking about the market outlook and how it's looking. And it's almost like a two-speed economy, two-speed property market out there right now. There's locations that are negatively impacted by the very high interest rates. And then there's areas that are also almost buoyed to an extent by the high interest rates because they're super affordable and it makes complete sense to buy there, along with a lot of other factors sort of stacking on top of them. But it's not looking at the fact that, all right, well, Sydney and Melbourne are probably overpriced and very expensive house price to income ratios, and where current interest rates are as well, to be worth investing in there. But where else is there? Where are the opportunities out there in the market to take advantage of it? And I've had chats with different clients and different clients' parents and different things as well in regards to this too, being like, well, I can't afford to buy in Sydney or Melbourne. What do I do? And opening their eyes to the opportunities outside it. And I think you're kind of sitting dead in the middle. Well, actually, no. If you're looking for the opportunities, then you are sitting obviously in the glass half full, but then going out there and taking action and pulling the trigger on those opportunities, that's what moves the needle. Yeah. That's what gets you forward. That's what makes you a winner and win with your portfolio.
And when we're looking at risk, one of the biggest things for me when I started with you, thinking of glass half full versus glass half empty, is using an expert like APS. So you're basically taking out insurance and ensuring that you're getting the right deal done. So the glass half empty is, I don't know how to do anything. It's too hard. It's too difficult. I'm not going to make any decisions. Glass half full, well, if I don't know it, find someone who does. 100%. Who's better than you? So that whole upside, abundance mentality, I can do it. Who can I speak to? Make the phone call. That approach will filter through everything. It's like discipline. Discipline is not just a one-dimensional thing. If you're disciplined with a certain aspect of your life, it is going to permeate through other things. So if you have that approach of finding the information or engaging the best possible people, yes, why wouldn't you do that? That is a glass half full approach, and you're not letting your ego get in the way that I need to know everything. I have to do all the work. I don't want to ask anyone. I don't want to look stupid. That is a glass half empty approach. Right?
I completely agree with you, man, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
And can I say with that, right? This whole thing about glass half full and glass half empty, I think for a lot of people, because there's so many different aspects, whether you're looking at finance, around debt, your circle of influence and all that sort of stuff.
Of course.
But the biggest thing I probably wanted to get people to get across with this when it comes to your mindset is the concept of the law of exchange. And basically what that says, in a sense, is that in order to get something, you need to give something, right? It's like anything. You transact, right? So there's a reason why the banks hardly give you anything. That law of exchange is, I'm going to give you a very low interest rate for very low risk.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Whereas in any wealth creation strategy, whether you want to invest in property, you want to invest in shares, or you want to start your own business, they're a lot riskier than money in the bank.
100%.
So what's the law of exchange there? You have to put your balls on the line to take the risk in order to get a better than average return. Because if you play it out, in the end, the law of exchange will either dictate, did you make the decisions or not? And that's why when I think of glass half full, it's like, you know what? I'm prepared to pay the price. I'm prepared to spend the money. I'm prepared to do the course. I'm prepared to listen to the podcast. Like sometimes I get on the phone with people on the calls and I'm like, have you listened to anything? No, I haven't. Are you going to listen to it? Well, I don't really have time. And I say to them quite openly, what makes you think you deserve to actually benefit from this if you're not even prepared to put in anything? The world's not going to reward you like that.
100%. So that's a sure way to get burnt, man.
That's right. So that law of exchange, if you can think of that and take something out of that, just basically start thinking about what am I doing to get that, right? And that's why when using a buyer's agent, the thing that I love about it is I'm paying a fee for you to deliver an outcome. That is the exchange.
100%.
So I make peace with that. And I want you to deliver the best outcome, and then you go from there. So hope that's been helpful in terms of that exchange 100%, principle.
Man. I think that was great. And I think, man, it's really hammering in on the fact of like people who think they can just do it very passively or whatever. Now, obviously, say working with us, like it is obviously a much more passive way and a much higher chance of success than, especially if you're trying to half-ass doing it yourself just to save a fee. But even if you're doing it yourself and it's a law of exchange of how hard are you willing to go to ensure that you produce the same quality that we do to kind of save yourself on that front. And if the answer is not hard enough, I don't have the time to do it, whatever, then you've got to accept sometimes that is the way that it is and just accept it and move on. And like you said, pay the fee from that side to then move past it and get the best result possible. But yeah, man, you and I have always talked about that, like that give and take, that law of exchange. It's so crucial, man, to understand it from an investing perspective. Because if you think you're just going to passively sit on the sides and I'll just go buy a property, whatever, I'll just buy a local property or whatever and put no effort into it, but it's just around the corner so I can keep my eye on it, and you think that's investing and being good, that's, again, a surefire way to have a very, very poor experience. You've got to put a lot of time, effort, energy, research into this thing to get it right, or engage the right people that are going to do it for you. And that might be the law of exchange on your side, where you pay it to employ that thing, but you might still be very vested in it and try and learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
You might still just acknowledge the side of things being that paying for it is going to get me a better result.
Yeah. It's someone often said to me, the better questions that you can ask. So your education allows you to ask better questions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's not about knowing everything.
You know what's a really great point on that? Is there anything else you're going to say?
No, you go.
Man, I found it extremely interesting. The people that have watched the students of School of Property, right? The questions I get sent in for the in-house, like the in-school, we'll call it, webinars that we do with those guys for the Q&As, and the level of the questions that come in, because you say like the education and then the level of the questions will then dictate how the quality of the reply and then what you're actually getting on the back end of that as well. The quality of the questions, and it's almost, which these are all recorded and then logged in within School of Property as well, but the quality of the questions that are being sent through and the level that I can see those investors going to mentally from an education perspective in building portfolios, man, it's crazy. Seeing those questions come in and then being able to answer them for those guys as well and helping actually give that next level of education from that side. Man, it's funny when you say that. I wasn't intending obviously to bring that up, but then mentioning that and then thinking about the difference in levels of obviously the Q&As that we answer on the Scouting Australia podcast. There's a lot of depth, a lot of detail. We did the 2-hour epic back at the on the 29th of Jan before the night before my birthday. We did 2 hours. It was like 40 odd questions. There was a huge amount of really, really good stuff in there. But when you start going to the different level, especially when you've taught them a different level, then the questions you get on the back end of that as well, game changer, completely different.
It's funny you should bring that up, because even when I'm doing some of the discovery calls and clients who have done School of Property, the conversation is very different. And they're coming armed with, they're hungry for executing. They're hungry to move.
Yep.
Right? And not saying you have to do School of Property, but obviously if you want to increase your knowledge base, it is an incredible tool. Look at this podcast. There's how many hours? 80 hours of content?
Yeah, it's more
that
than
is
that
available.
Now. Yeah, it's more than that now. And it's still more being added as well.
So again, looking at a law of exchange as a half glass empty investor, it is, I don't have time. I'm not going to put in the time. I'm going to get average results. But if you're listening to this every day, the momentum in your corner to pushing you to make a better decision, to ask better questions, it is inevitable that you're actually going to be a half glass full. You're going to get the results.
Yeah.
It's like peppering the line. In football or in league and all that, eventually you're going to score.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're not even on the field...
Can I say something here? I definitely was not going to bring this up, but it popped into my mind, especially around that law of exchange. I remember some guy messaged me or he made a comment or something and he's like, I don't think it's worth what the fee is. It's like, no worries, bro. All good. And I think about it though, and I'm like, and you see this guy, he only had a couple of properties or something like that, or I think he might have had one property or something. And I'm like, so you're not willing to pay the fee that would essentially expedite 14 years of knowledge and learnings and everything essentially within it to learn everything I've learned within that for X amount of dollars. And it isn't a crazy amount. You know what I mean? In exchange to learn all that in 80 hours, what do you listen to it? You listen to it on, fast. You get it done in a month or 2 months. We had Sam Gow bloody listened to the thing in 2 weeks or something. You know what I mean? Or like you can absolutely smash through this thing. And the amount of content that you would learn, the amount of education piece you would learn from it. And you're talking about the law of exchange. It's like, no worries, bro. All good. You don't see the value in it. And which I honestly don't care, right? But like the 10 to 14 years that it would take you to learn that amount of information and bumble, and how many fuck ups are you going to make along your way to then learn? I guarantee you it's going to cost a lot more than what that course costs to learn those mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I'm not going to give it away for free.
No,
obviously. We give
you?
enough great content away on the podcast, but that stuff is that next level that obviously we teach all our clients, that we work through all our clients. So yeah, man, like you think about law of exchange, like if there's anything literally from a cost dollar return perspective, that thing's got to be ridiculously high on the list.
Mate, I think the amount of value that course provides to people as a crash course and a very detailed course in terms of how to invest.
Even building it from the absolute basics, the fundamentals right to the top end of the knowledge base.
100%. And, sometimes, like, I think when we're looking at mindset, no one's bulletproof. Right? So there is going to be times where you're not going to feel up to it, and you're going to have sometimes you might feel like a bit of a half glass empty and, you know what, can't be stuffed. And I'll put my hand up. I didn't get my finance sorted for probably about 6 months. Piss farting around, Jimmy wasting time. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, filthy. You're an idiot. All the self-talk, you lazy. All this and so-and-so. And you missed another opportunity. Yeah, there you go. Good on you. You're too busy. You're too busy. Like, I'm telling myself that. So I'm here on the podcast telling people this is what you should be doing. It is normal to feel that sometimes, and you're going to slip up, and sometimes life gets in the way and all that. I have since done it, right? There was a fork in the road. I said, you know what? No more. No more. So your awareness, one of my mentors always said, if you're 80%, if you're aware of it, you're 80% there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're oblivious and you're completely unreasonable and you got your head in the clouds, then you're never going to realize. But once you take ownership of that glass half full or glass half empty, and the self-awareness to recognize exactly where you are and what you are or are not doing, then you can make inroads.
Mate, I think it's a great point. The awareness piece, knowing where you're lacking, and where you need experience, where you need help. From all those perspectives, you might be super aware that your team isn't up to scratch, that your broker isn't quite there, and you know it in your mind, but you're trying to do the right thing by not burning that person.
Yeah, you feel bad,
but you might have moved past them. Same as your accountant. Maybe you're with some other buyer's agent. That's average. All these different people that you might need to move past in your journey. But exactly as you're saying there, being aware of it and then being aware of it's more than halfway there. And then obviously making that change, whatever that thing is that you need to do to then go to the next level, that's the next step. But being aware of it, you be oblivious to it or try and sweep it under the rug. You're gonna, it's a saying of like, you only get out what you put in. So if you're gonna make the changes, if you don't make any changes, nothing's gonna change. You're gonna stay where you are. Whereas if you can make those changes, if you can level up, especially if you're aware of it and make the correct decisions of it, that's where you can take things to the next level. Like no matter what it is. Portfolio, everything in life.
It's such an attitude piece, and there's so many quotes and sayings that jump into my mind when we're talking about all this stuff. And one of the things that talking about everyone slips up, there was a quote that says, "Successful people hate the exact same things that unsuccessful people hate. They just do them anyway."
Yeah.
So no one's immune to this. No one is immune to this.
Yep.
So the attitude and disposition of that half glass full and half glass empty, if there's anything you take out of this, it is to any issue, think about it.
You know what just popped into my mind?
Yeah, go for it.
I agree with you completely. The biggest thing I see with this is people not applying it to all aspects of their life. If I look at the biggest changes I made in my life, it was when I blocked out the negativity and when I constantly looked for the positives in all the situations. I've mentioned this before. I had 2 boys that I'm close with that are developers down in Sydney. They've been through the absolute ringer during COVID. But even this is pre-COVID when I met those boys, and they were so positive. And I almost half had a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome. It's so common in Australia. I got brought up around it. And then I was around these boys and everything was just positive. They wanted to win. They wanted their mates to win. They wanted to see everyone. They didn't care. As long as if we're all in the same trajectory and we're all winning, everyone's winning. But if everyone's in a negative headspace, if everyone's half glass empty and looking down and they can't be positive about these things, you're not going to win. You got to look at this at all aspects of your life. If you look at the positives for everything, you will be a winner, I guarantee you. If you look for the negatives in everything, you're going to be a fucking loser, I guarantee you. If you are winning and you're helping people around you win and thinking with that mentality and pulling up, your mate, what's your mate, Robbo? You're pulling up Robbo down at the pub for being a negative prick.
Yeah.
Mate, stop it. I don't want to be around it. If you're going to be around that, mate, we're not going to be mates anymore.
Yes.
Pull your finger out.
Yes.
Not 8 times out of 10, I won't say 9 times, but 8 times out of 10, he's going to pull his finger out. He's going to stop being a dickhead. And if he doesn't, cut him. Move on. Because that's holding you back in your life. So I think you need to have a chat with Robbo about that.
I might have a chat to Robbo.
But you know what I mean?
Like, there are some Han premium lights.
Don't want to get him too rolled up over the BBs. But you know what I mean? Like, if you're surrounding yourself with that correct mentality, I guarantee you, everyone listening to this potty right now is thinking about at least one mate that is like that. I've got that mate in my head right now.
Could be your family too, Sammy.
100%.
Could be a sibling, could be your parents, could be anyone.
And it might not be one. It might be 10 of them. It might be everyone that's around you. You got to change that. Whether that's stepping out of that circle and finding a new circle, or whether that is helping those people change and cutting them off at it. If you're close enough with it, you should be able to be direct enough to cut them off with it and go, mate, I don't want to hear that shit. Let's be positive, man. Let's win.
You know what? I love it how you've taken this, because we've gone. I feel like we're going for a bit of a fork here. Because we're always talking...
We're in the Defender. We're off-road. We're on the tunes. We're gone.
Have we got the roof rack?
The track's gone. No, the roof's open, mate. The roof's open.
Because we're always talking about property, and there's so many different half glass, half full. You know, your finance, getting finance, your understanding of debt, your circle of influence, you know, the problems, the maintenance and all that, strategies. And I think we've gone to... We've definitely laboured the point of half glass full and empty in this stuff. But let's just take a little fork on the side and look at other aspects of your life. Because imagine... if we were to do an audit on our own lives, right, and start looking at your health, right, and I might go a bit off tangent here, but you tell me.
Here we go.
Your health is one thing.
People.
Yeah, it's going back. It's going back. You remember Sly Stallone in that movie?
Finish your story. You want to do an arm wrestle?
No, thanks.
Come on.
So your health,
yeah.
Right? We're clearly here talking about your finance.
Yes.
Right? There's other aspects about certain, you know, your relationships with this or your own education sort of space or your spirituality or whatever it is. But if you did an audit of your life and you ask yourself the question, am I living half glass full or empty? Am I thinking...
in each aspect?
In each... like, why not? Even with your health. Oh, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't. No, I'm not a gym person. I'm not healthy. You know, there's no use making all this money if you're going to get diabetes and you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. Years, What's use of earning all the money to neglect your health to then... like, I don't know if
I'm with you, bro.
But because if you do that in other aspects of your life, it is impossible that you're not going to apply it to your finances, to your property, to your savings, to your work, to your career, to your relationships. Like, it's going to flow on, right?
Nothing else? Yeah,
to your dog, to your cat. But that momentum that is permeating every aspect of your life, if you adopt a half glass full approach to you can do things. And the law of exchange is, I want to get healthier. Well, I have to go for a walk. I want to be healthier. I need to eat better. I need to stop going to Macca's and getting, 24 nuggets and 2 hash browns.
Pineapple fritters.
What Sammy orders. But you know what I mean? Like, if you think about this principle, what's stopping you from doing an audit on everything in your life?
100%. Man, applying it to everything in life, literally, almost all great coaches I've ever worked with all talk about the 1%ers. What are the 1% you can change daily, that you can focus on, that you can think about, put it in the back of your head? I'm about to walk in a Macca's and order a large meal. Instead, order a medium. 1%er.
1%.
If you're going to be there anyway, get the smaller one.
Get the salad. No one gets a salad at Macca's. No one gets a salad. No one gets the salad at Macca's.
But you know what I'm talking about? It's a 1%ers. You can change a little bit here, there, everywhere. And I'm even talking about now, even letting that play in your mind the next time property manager rings you, undoubtedly with a problem that pops up, instead of immediately your mind going, what is it this time?
Yeah.
Going, all right, where's the solution?
Yeah. What do you suggest?
But all right, here's the problem. All right, let's work on a solution. What's the solution? And then solve it. Once you do that, you are make 10 steps to being above 90% of investors. Because it will be over 90% of investors when they get that phone call, they're going, heads down, depressed straight away. They can see the property manager calling, oh God.
Here we go.
And I used to be that. I know you did too. You used to call me. I'd be, fuck off, I don't want to know it.
Still does that.
Still do that. Don't call me. Now his property managers call me and go, mate, Jimmy's a prick. And you're all laughing right now. And it happened yesterday.
But he is a prick. No. So things go wrong. Things go wrong.
But it's how you look at it.
That's right.
And if you look at it with that positive mindset, and the half glass full approach to wrap this up, mate, you are already Jimmy's
can do. No, just the can do approach. Like you can do these things. You can overcome them.
Solution focused mindsets
is half glass full. Yeah. The defeatist mindset, and it's funny.
It's 3/4 glass full.
The best lesson that I learned from starting business, starting business, right, was with our first Jets gym.
Okay.
And every aspect of that gym process, everyone was almost like they would say to you, the answer's no, now ask me the question. Because you just got so many no's.
Yeah,
so you got conditioned to no.
Yeah, right.
So you just got conditioned, well, he's going to say no, so I'm just going to have to keep asking until eventually we're going to get a yeah, okay, yeah, tell me no. Eventually we get the yes. So just built this resilience of can do, half glass full. What can we do?
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel people need to get the no's before they actually get that muscle to overcome that and say, do you really want this? Are you interested, or are you just piss farting around? Like, do you really want it?
I get you.
And one of my mentors always says, the difference between you taking action is, are you interested in it, or do you really want it? Because being interested is not going to you're not going to do anything.
It's a good idea.
Call, no. Do you want it?
Yeah. How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? It's the difference between being interested and committed. So half glass full, go through the shit, be prepared for it, expect it, overcome it, keep working through, because the more money you want to make, the more problems you are going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
That's the law of exchange.
100%.
You want a $30 million portfolio, not that you have to have that, but there's a shit ton of problems that come with it.
100%, bro. And it's continual. Because there's that many properties, that many rentals. It's continual.
So you
but it's part of the process.
Yeah,
it's essentially running a business.
That's right. You can't get 100 grand passive income or 200 grand passive income and want to have the same risk as what you're having in the bank. That's not the law of exchange.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
That does not work. It will not work. So we've laboured the point. We've gone on. We're nearly hitting 40 minutes, but I think we've done it to death.
Mate, I think we're good. What I want to do, Jimmy, 3 key takeaways from this episode for myself. I was writing a couple of things. I was like, I like that. I like that.
You can
After I said things, not you. But I like this.
I'll send you an email.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I'll put it on return to sender. Anything that comes from James Ibrahim. Mate, looking for the positives in all situations. That's the biggest takeaway from me.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
Look for positives in all situations. You look at this, glass half full, glass half empty. I literally wrote back to the guy that was whinging at me about it. I go, no worries, bro, it's up 100 grand. I don't know. I think I said something else as well, but I was pissed off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How about 100 grand? Don't whinge about the $500. Cost of doing business. If that was a business you made 100 grand, are you going to pay an employee $500? Yes. It's part of the process.
Yep.
Yeah? Look for the positives. Work out the solutions. Surround yourself with the correct people. So I literally was writing that down for, and this is not where we were supposed to take this episode at all, when you and I were talking about this briefly before.
Why not?
But when we're talking about it and we're talking about the key points that really make this thing tick in my mind, having the correct people around you are going to help you with the right mindset. And listening to this potty, I'm not too bold in saying, it's helping you surround yourself with the right people, listening to, okay, well, everyone else, reacts the same way I do, which is, oh, bloody property managers call me, blah, blah, blah. The boys are saying, take the call, be dominant on the phone. What's going on? Yep, sweet. What's the solution? You don't have a solution? All right, give me a buzz when you got a solution, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
And then leave it in their court, because that's what you're paying them for.
Yeah.
But I'm surrounding myself with the right people, and now when I hear other people say this, go, hey, mate, do this, or listen to this episode, and it's going to teach you how to go through it. And then if you come and complain to me again, whoop, see you later.
Using that exact example, we're talking about a half glass full. If people in
if I had $1 for every time you said that in this potty,
you'd be wealthy. If
$15.
If you've got people in your life that are constantly draining your cup, how are you going to be a glass half full?
Can't be.
Whereas if you have got people filling up your cup with positivity, of course you're going to be
100%
half full.
Yes.
Do you like that little cup full analogy? You can have
I nearly said something there, but it's all got to leave that when you're talking about filling your cup. Last point, guys. In my mind, 3 big key takeaways. Apply this to all aspects of your life.
Yes.
You cannot be a gun at investing and shit at everything else.
No.
Just the same way as you cannot be a gun at everything else and shit at investing. They will cross over. You will win. You have to have a half glass full mentality and mindset for everything that you do in your life. If you do that, you are going to win at everything. Work, relationship, health, portfolio, everything. You're going to win. If you shit at any of them, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Right? You're either good or you're shit. It's one or the other. Start changing the mindset And guys, this is why we decided this year, especially after so many people wrote in after the last one, Investor's Mindset. That's why we decided to really hammer in on this thing and keep going hard with the Investor's Mindset. So many of you asked us to do another ep on different ideas. And this is why we want to do it, guys. We want to help you all level up, start thinking super positive about, I can do this. I can take this to the next level. I'm going to look at this in a positive mindset, and I'm going to look at everything with that half glass full mentality.
It is the 1%er, Sammy. The mindset is that percentage
100%.
that you can't put your finger on it. You can't, sometimes you got to go through the shit things to get the benefit. So if you can harness this, folks, and we know it's not easy, it's an ongoing process. So no one's judging anyone for where you're starting at or where you are or what you're going through, because we're all different. At the end of the day, everyone wants a great life, right? And I think what Sammy's saying is having it across every aspect of your life will just give you a better quality of life. There's no use being infinitely wealthy and miserable and having shit relationships and bad health. That's not winning. So,
Jimmy,
well
I love
done.
it. Mate, any other key takeaways for you? Or we pretty well wrapped them?
I think we've pretty much wrapped up. I'm going to send you the summary notes of all my wisdom for you, and
just send it to that email, mate. It's coming straight back to you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you very much.
Mate, guys, I hope you all took some great value. I personally am going to send this on to that one negative mate that I got left. I still love him. I've known him for 20 years, but he needs to pull his head in. This is
a good idea to send it to your mate.
That's what I said. I'm going to send it to him.
Our listeners, send it to your mate.
Send it to your family. Send it to whoever needs to listen to this thing, and tell them to get around it. They got to listen to this thing all the way through to the end, because I feel like that gold kind of came through in the last 10 to 15 minutes when we really started realizing that this thing is like it's an overall mindset for every aspect of your life. So anyone you think could take great value or you think needs this episode, make sure you send it on to them. Jimmy, make sure you send it to Robbo down at the pub. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave us a 5-star review and a testimonial. Until next week, guys, it's another Scouting Australia podcast.